So we have put together the one-shot Gley build, but one problem is it kind of sucks. What's up, what's up? So I'm sure you guys ended up seeing, or some of us at least, ended up seeing the clip of the creator, one-shot and devour, and I know Moxie today ended up putting up a video showcasing the showcase of the build. There's something that's a little bit of a twist. Me personally, I was hitting the push. So if you seen any of the last videos I didn't have a piercing light at all, and I was definitely not this much invested into the piercing light rifle. As you can imagine, I'm making a build for the gun. And some would not imagine that the one-shot boss killing build does not really feel great for killing bosses, and I currently don't have a version of the build that is fleshed out enough to be something that I give to you guys and that you can enjoy and love and tweak the same way as like the Infinite Launcher. So I'm gonna go ahead and explain everything. So for this build in order to work, you gotta get the demonic modification mod. Now this is only for Ultimate Gley, and this drops off of the last boss that is currently in the game, Molten Fortress. Now when you get this and put this on, the unique weapon has a fixed fire rate and consumes HP based on the duration of true aim, where you just charge the gun and you shoot it. This is what the tooltip looks like if you read it over here. Long story short, we stack up skill power, we do more damage, sometimes we get HP back. Is essentially what it is. Now we look at this big old document over here. This is made by Raider and Koala. I have talked to them more than I have talked to my family over the past couple of days. Someone please send help. I'm being held captive by math, which is probably one of the worst ways to be tortured. But we are looking for a weapon with a very high base attack. And for Massacre, I need this nice little Massacre tab. It is Piercing Light is the winner. And you can see like the recipient unknown, funny enough, came up first in a lot of different instances. We have a whole bunch of math and places to get void shards and all that good stuff. All this inside of the pinned comment. So we took the math sheet, went ahead and threw in the Piercing Light because of the massive firearm attack. The fire rate we don't really care about due to it being fixed. And we are in a very, very good spot. And we see that our critical hit rate, once scaled, is up to 58.4%. 58% chance to hit with like 40 million is not bad at all. I will take those odds. It is set up to every 10 seconds due to the weak point expansion. There is a 58% chance of hitting about 40 million damage. That is the initial thought process. That is the core around the build. That is what I ended up spending like 15 million gold on and about 1.5 million Kuiper, as well as a lot of time running into a wall in a cave as Bunny. But we'll talk about that later. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now our first initial shots are not going to be towards the head because I want to get my HP lower. Typically you just spam Q, but we're doing it like that. And we're going to aim for the head here. Boom. And you can see we got the weak point, but we did not get the massive crit. So we're just going to shoot 2 more times for the sake of this video. We're not going to stall out too much longer. I just want to show you guys how demonic looks if you're not too familiar with it. So we're going to move closer. And we're going to get below 50%. So while we did hit 11 million, we did not see our big crit number. And in this instance, you can see the root of our problem. We're not critting that much. And that's before another potential issue is brought to the table. It took me 15 different tries in order to get that one crit. So let's go ahead and look at how rare it would be for me to fail 14 times in this attempt to kill the Devourer. So the probability that event occurs is 99.908, which leaves us with a 0.092 chance of it not occurring. So with 15 attempts in order to reach this rate was already wild enough. The Amigo Super, he did 40 different attempts in order to land the one crit. So I am of the belief that there is crit resistance added to these bosses that reduces the critical chance, which in turn would be the thing that would make the Vestigial Launcher a bit better. Along with that, there is a potential chance that Massacre when you end up swapping the weapon, you do not get the increased critical hit chance from that weapon added from the mods. So while I do see the 58%, I do believe there's a chance that it is at 40, but that's something that we are testing and doing math for once again in this torturous room, trying to figure out what the case is, because we know that the enemies inside of the test zone don't have any defenses, which is why we're able to hit them for 40 million, which is why Devourer ends up getting hit for 14. So it would just make sense for crit resistance to be a thing inside this game, especially with there being mods that increase our crit resistance. So while the build is not efficient for farming bosses solo, ironically, I would say that it can work well in a coordinated group, particularly with something like an Enzo or other units that end up increasing the crit chance, and maybe somebody that can pick up the character pretty fast, such as like Yujin. The build can do a lot of damage underneath those circumstances. I'm playing around with a couple of different variables to make it an enjoyable setup and actually make it fluid and fun to play. But if you want to play around with this, I guess, big damage version and just slot in some random things, here are the reactor, here are the external components, and here are the mods again. Now, while we are doing tests and making sure everything is, a bit better, I guess you can play around with this. I do really like the Thunder Cage or Python Massacre setup. I think that is fantastic, and if you are coming from the infinite ammo build, you can run that, as well as there's some other solid options that we're working on. But yeah, this kind of stinks right now. But hey, if you want to play it, if you want to get those one shots, if you don't mind the incredibly low odds, then this can be okay. Here are the rolls for the weapon. Ideally, instead of critical hit rate, you would go with weak point. And then I'll go ahead and show the mods. So this video is a little bit earlier than I wanted it to, but I figured just give it a little bit more context might end up helping people make a choice between going with this or going with the SMG Massacre variations. Hopefully it ends up helping out. If you have any questions, let your boy know in the comments below.